The email arrived on a crisp autumn morning. Its subject line simple, yet electrifying. Expedition opportunity. Great Pyramids of Egypt. I felt a jolt of excitement as I read through the details. An archaeological team was being assembled to explore undocumented chambers within the Great Pyramid of Giza, also known as the Pyramid of Khufu. The mission was to utilize cutting-edge technology to map and document any discoveries. I didn't hesitate. This was the chance I had been waiting for since childhood. Growing up, I was captivated by ancient history, particularly the enigmatic civilizations that constructed such grand and mysterious monuments. The pyramids, with their silent, towering presence, had always held a special allure for me. They were more than just architectural marvels. They were time capsules of a civilization that thrived thousands of years ago. And now, I had the opportunity to peel back the layers of history and uncover secrets that had been buried for millennia. The journey began with a flight to Cairo, where I met the rest of the team. There was Sarah, a seasoned archaeologist with a penchant for hieroglyphics, David, a tech expert responsible for operating the state-of-the-art equipment we would be using, and Emily, a historian with an encyclopedic knowledge of ancient Egypt. Our team leader, Dr. Michael Thompson, was a renowned Egyptologist whose passion for discovery was contagious. "Welcome, everyone," Dr. Thompson greeted us as we gathered in the hotel lobby. "This is a unique opportunity to explore one of the most iconic structures in human history. Our mission is straightforward: to uncover and document any new findings within the Pyramid of Khufu. Remember, we're not just here to explore. We're here to learn and preserve." The next day, we traveled to the Giza Plateau. As our vehicle approached the site, the pyramids loomed into view, their massive silhouettes etched against the clear blue sky. I felt a sense of awe and reverence as we neared the ancient structures. The sheer scale of the pyramids was overwhelming, a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of the ancient Egyptians. Our base of operations was a temporary camp set up near the pyramid. It was equipped with all the necessary tools and technology, including ground-penetrating radar and 3D mapping devices. The plan was to use these tools to identify and access any hidden chambers within the pyramid. On the first day of the expedition, we gathered for a briefing. Dr. Thompson outlined our objectives and emphasized the importance of meticulous documentation. "Every detail matters," he said. "We are the eyes and ears of history, and it's our responsibility to ensure that future generations can learn from what we discover." As we prepared to enter the pyramid, there was a palpable sense of anticipation. We donned our gear and made our way to the entrance, following a path worn smooth by countless visitors over the centuries. The air was cool and dry inside the pyramid, and the sound of our footsteps echoed softly off the stone walls. Our initial task was to conduct a thorough survey of the known chambers, using our equipment to search for any anomalies or hidden passages. It was painstaking work, requiring patience and precision. Sarah and David worked closely together, analyzing the data from the radar and mapping devices. "Look at this," David said, pointing to a screen displaying the radar readings. "There's something unusual here, behind this wall." Sarah leaned in for a closer look. "It could be a chamber," she speculated, "or maybe a passageway." Dr. Thompson nodded thoughtfully. "Let's mark it and continue our survey. We'll come back to it later." The day passed quickly, and as evening approached, we gathered to review our findings. The data suggested several areas of interest, and we made plans to investigate them further in the coming days. Despite the long hours and the physical demands of the work, there was an undeniable sense of excitement among the team. We were on the brink of discovery, and the possibilities seemed endless. As I lay in my tent that night, I reflected on the journey so far. The promise of uncovering secrets hidden for thousands of years filled me with a sense of purpose and wonder. This was more than just an expedition. It was a voyage into the heart of history itself. The morning sun cast long shadows across the sands of Giza as we resumed our work. There was a buzz of excitement in the air, fueled by the promise of what lay hidden within the ancient stone walls of the Pyramid of Khufu. Our team, invigorated by the previous day's findings, was eager to delve deeper into the mysteries that awaited us. Equipped with our gear, we entered the pyramid once more, the cool air inside a welcome relief from the rising desert heat. Our goal for the day was to investigate the anomaly detected by the radar, a potential passageway that could lead to unexplored chambers. The thought of being the first to set eyes on something untouched for thousands of years was both thrilling and daunting. As we approached the suspected location, David set up the ground-penetrating radar, while Sarah and I examined the stonework for any signs of a hidden entrance. The walls were smooth and unyielding, a testament to the skill of the ancient builders. Yet, we knew that secrets often lay just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. "Here," David said, pointing to the screen. "The readings are consistent with the hollow space behind this section of the wall." Dr. Thompson joined us, scrutinizing the data. "It could be a passage," he mused, "but we need to be cautious. Let's proceed with the utmost care." Using specialized tools, we began to carefully remove the outer layer of stone. It was meticulous work, requiring steady hands and keen attention to detail. As the minutes turned into hours, our efforts were finally rewarded. A small gap appeared, revealing the edge of a hidden passageway. "Look at that," Sarah exclaimed, peering into the darkness beyond. "It's incredible. Who knows what we'll find in there?" With the passageway now accessible, we prepared to venture inside. Flashlights in hand, we stepped cautiously into the narrow corridor, the beams of light cutting through the darkness. The air was musty, carrying the scent of ancient stone and dust. The passageway was narrow, forcing us to move in single file. As we advanced, the walls seemed to close in around us, the weight of history pressing down with every step. It was both exhilarating and eerie, knowing that we were walking where no one had tread for millennia. "Do you think this was deliberately hidden?" I asked, my voice echoing softly in the confined space. "It's possible," Dr. Thompson replied. "The Egyptians were known for their elaborate burial practices and their desire to protect the afterlife of their pharaohs. This could be part of a larger complex designed to deter grave robbers." As we continued, the passageway opened into a small chamber, its walls adorned with hieroglyphs. The symbols were unlike any we had seen before, their meaning a tantalizing mystery. Sarah began to photograph and document the inscriptions, her excitement palpable. "These aren't in any of the records," she said, her eyes wide with wonder. "We need to get these translated. They could hold the key to understanding what this chamber was used for." While Sarah worked on the hieroglyphs, the rest of us examined the chamber. It was empty, save for a few scattered pottery shards and a small, intricately carved statue. The figure was unlike any typical Egyptian deity, its features more angular and alien. "What do you make of this?" David asked, holding the statue up for us to see. "It's fascinating," Dr. Thompson said, taking the statue in his hands. "The craftsmanship is exquisite, yet it doesn't match any known style from this period. We might be looking at something entirely unique." The discovery of the chamber and its contents was a significant breakthrough, but it also raised more questions than answers. What was the purpose of this hidden space? Why were the hieroglyphs and artifacts so different from what we expected? As we packed up to return to camp, our minds buzzed with possibilities. Back at our base, we gathered to discuss the day's findings. The hieroglyphs were sent to a team of linguists for translation, while the statue was carefully cataloged and preserved. There was a sense of accomplishment in the air, tempered by the realization that we had only scratched the surface of the pyramid's secrets. That night, as I lay in my tent, I couldn't help but replay the day's events in my mind. The thrill of discovery was addictive, and I found myself eager for what tomorrow might bring. We were uncovering history, piece by piece, and each new find brought us closer to understanding the ancient world in ways we had never imagined. The next morning, the camp was abuzz with anticipation. The hieroglyphs we had discovered in the hidden chamber were unlike anything previously documented, and their translation could provide crucial insights into the purpose of the chamber and its mysterious contents. As we gathered for breakfast, Sarah shared the preliminary findings from the linguists. "It's fascinating," she said, her eyes alight with excitement. "The inscription seems to be a warning of some kind. It reads, 'He who awakens the guardian shall find the fate of the gods.' It's a bit cryptic, but definitely intriguing. I felt a shiver run down my spine. The notion of a guardian sounded ominous, conjuring images of ancient curses and supernatural protectors. Yet, as a scientist, I was more inclined to believe it was a metaphorical warning, possibly designed to deter tomb robbers. "What do you think it means?" David asked, leaning forward with interest. "It could be a reference to a protective deity or spirit," Dr. Thompson suggested. "The Egyptians had a complex belief system, and they often used symbolic language in their inscriptions. This might be more about safeguarding the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife than a literal guardian." Despite the rational explanations, the inscription added an air of mystery to our expedition. It was as if the pyramid itself was speaking to us, revealing its secrets in layers, each more enigmatic than the last. We decided to explore further, driven by a mix of curiosity and scholarly determination. As we prepared to re-enter the pyramid, there was a palpable sense of both excitement and apprehension. The air inside was cool and still, the silence broken only by the soft shuffle of our footsteps and the occasional clatter of equipment. We retraced our steps to the hidden chamber, eager to delve deeper into its mysteries. "Let's see if there are any other passages leading from here," Dr. Thompson suggested, examining the walls with a keen eye. "There might be more to this than meets the eye." Using our mapping equipment, we began to scan the chamber for any hidden doors or passageways. The process was slow and methodical, requiring patience and precision. As we worked, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, a sensation that seemed to linger in the shadows. "Do you feel that?" Sarah asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's like there's something here with us." I nodded, acknowledging the strange atmosphere. "It's probably just the weight of the history in these walls," I replied, trying to sound reassuring. "But it is a bit unsettling." As the hours passed, our efforts were rewarded. A faint outline appeared on one of the walls, suggesting the presence of another hidden passage. Our excitement reignited. We carefully began to uncover the entrance, revealing a narrow corridor leading further into the pyramid's depths. "This could be it," David said, his voice tinged with both excitement and caution. "We might be on the verge of something big." With flashlights in hand, we proceeded down the newly revealed passageway. The air was thick with dust, and the walls were adorned with more hieroglyphs, each telling a story of gods and kings, of life and death. The further we went, the more intricate and detailed the inscriptions became, as if guiding us deeper into the pyramid's secrets. "These hieroglyphs are extraordinary," Sarah said, pausing to photograph the walls. "They're unlike anything I've seen before. It's almost as if they're telling a continuous story." The passageway eventually opened into a larger chamber, its ceiling high and vaulted. In the center stood a massive stone sarcophagus, its surface etched with symbols and figures. It was an awe-inspiring sight, a testament to the artistry and devotion of the ancient Egyptians. "Wow," I breathed, stepping closer to examine the sarcophagus. "This is incredible. But why was it hidden?" Dr. Thompson pondered the question, his gaze fixed on the stone coffin. "Perhaps it was meant to protect something, or someone of great importance. We need to document everything carefully." As we set about our work, the sense of being watched persisted, a silent observer in the shadows. Yet, the thrill of discovery outweighed any fears. We were uncovering history, one piece at a time, and the mysteries of the pyramid were slowly unfolding before us. That evening, back at camp, we reviewed the day's findings. The hieroglyphs were sent for further analysis, and we began to piece together the story they told. It was clear that we were on the brink of significant discoveries, and the potential implications were both exciting and daunting. As I lay in my tent, the words of the inscription echoed in my mind. "He who awakens the guardian shall find the fate of the gods." What did it truly mean? And what awaited us in the depths of the pyramid? These questions lingered as I drifted into a restless sleep, eager for what the next day might bring. The dawn broke over the Giza Plateau, casting a golden hue over the sands and the imposing silhouette of the Great Pyramid. Our team, invigorated by the previous day's discoveries, was eager to delve deeper into the mysteries we had uncovered. There was an air of anticipation as we gathered our equipment and prepared to re-enter the pyramid. As we made our way through the familiar passageways, the atmosphere felt different, charged with a sense of urgency and expectation. We were heading back to the newly discovered chamber with the stone sarcophagus, intent on uncovering its secrets. The hieroglyphs had hinted at something significant, and we were determined to find out what it was. The chamber greeted us with its silent, imposing presence. The sarcophagus stood at its center, a guardian of secrets long buried. As we approached, the air seemed to thicken, and an inexplicable tension settled over the group. "All right, let's get to work," Dr. Thompson said, breaking the silence. "We need to document every detail before we attempt to open the sarcophagus." Sarah and David set up the cameras and began photographing the intricate carvings on the stone surface. The hieroglyphs were more elaborate here, depicting scenes of rituals and offerings to the gods. As I examined the carvings, I couldn't shake the feeling that they were trying to tell us something, a story that had been waiting millennia to be heard. "These symbols are fascinating," Sarah said, her voice tinged with awe. "They seem to depict a journey, perhaps a passage to the afterlife." David nodded, adjusting the focus on his camera. "It's incredible how much detail they put into this. It's almost as if they wanted to ensure the story was never forgotten." As we continued our work, the unease in the air grew more pronounced. It was as if the chamber itself was alive, watching and waiting. We tried to ignore it, focusing instead on the task at hand. With the documentation complete, it was time to open the sarcophagus. The prospect was both thrilling and daunting. What lay inside could redefine our understanding of ancient Egyptian burial practices, or it could be a simple empty vessel, its contents lost to time. Dr. Thompson carefully examined the sarcophagus for any signs of a mechanism or seal. "Let's proceed with caution," he advised. "We don't want to damage anything." Using a combination of tools and gentle pressure, we began to lift the heavy stone lid. It was a painstaking process, requiring precision and teamwork. As the lid slowly rose, a musty scent of ancient air escaped, filling the chamber with the smell of history itself. Inside, we found something unexpected. The sarcophagus was not empty, nor did it contain the remains of a pharaoh. Instead, it held a collection of artifacts, amulets, scrolls, and a beautifully crafted mask. The objects were arranged with care, as if placed there with a specific purpose in mind. "These aren't typical burial items," Sarah observed, picking up one of the amulets. "They look ceremonial, but not in the way we've seen before." Dr. Thompson examined the scrolls, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. "These could be texts of significant importance. We need to get them translated as soon as possible." The discovery was both exciting and perplexing. The items in the sarcophagus didn't fit the typical narrative of Egyptian burials. They were unique, hinting at a story that was both familiar and foreign. It was as if we had stumbled upon a forgotten chapter of history, one that had been deliberately hidden from the world. As we carefully cataloged the artifacts, the sense of being watched persisted, an unseen presence that seemed to linger just beyond the edge of perception. It was unsettling, yet it added to the mystique of the discovery. "Do you feel that?" David asked, glancing around the chamber. "It's like there's something here with us." I nodded, acknowledging the strange sensation. "It's hard to ignore, but whatever it is, it seems tied to this place." With the artifacts safely secured, we made our way back to camp, our minds buzzing with possibilities. The discovery had raised more questions than answers, and we were eager to learn what the scrolls might reveal. That evening, as we gathered to review our findings, there was a sense of accomplishment tempered by the realization that we had only begun to unravel the pyramid's mysteries. The artifacts were sent for analysis, and we prepared for another day of exploration. As I lay in my tent, I couldn't help but wonder about the story behind the artifacts. Who had placed them there and why? What secrets did they hold? These questions lingered as I drifted into a restless sleep, eager for the answers that tomorrow might bring. The morning sun rose over the desert, casting long shadows across the camp as we prepared for another day of exploration within the Great Pyramid. The discoveries we had made so far were both thrilling and perplexing, and we were eager to delve deeper into the mysteries that awaited us. However, a sense of unease lingered. a shadow that seemed to grow with each passing day. As we gathered for breakfast, John, one of our archaeologists, appeared unusually quiet. He had been with us from the start, his enthusiasm for the project infectious. But today, there was a haunted look in his eyes, as if he had seen something beyond the realm of our understanding. "John, are you all right?" I asked, concerned by his demeanor. He hesitated, glancing around as if unsure whether to speak. "I've been having these strange dreams," he finally admitted. "Visions, really. Dark figures, voices, it's hard to explain." The rest of the team exchanged uneasy glances. Dreams were not uncommon during such intense expeditions, but the way John described them was unsettling. "What kind of voices?" Sarah inquired, her curiosity piqued. "They're not speaking any language I recognize," John replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's more like whispers, echoing through the corridors of the pyramid. And the figures, they seem to be watching us." Dr. Thompson, ever the rationalist, tried to reassure him. "It's probably just the stress and the environment," he suggested. "The mind can play tricks when you're in a place like this." Despite his reassurances, a sense of tension settled over the group. We couldn't dismiss John's experiences, not when the atmosphere within the pyramid had felt so charged with an unseen presence. As we prepared to re-enter the pyramid, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the brink of something significant, yet potentially dangerous. The corridors seemed darker that day, the shadows deeper and more oppressive. As we made our way to the chamber with the sarcophagus, the air felt heavy, as if charged with electricity. The sense of being watched was stronger than ever, an invisible gaze that followed our every move. As we continued our work, documenting and analyzing the artifacts, John's unease seemed to grow. He paused frequently, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting to see someone, or something, lurking in the shadows. "Maybe we should take a break," David suggested, noticing John's discomfort. "Get some fresh air, clear our heads." John nodded, grateful for the suggestion. "Yeah, maybe that's a good idea." We stepped outside, the bright sunlight a welcome contrast to the dim confines of the pyramid. As we sat down to rest, John opened up about his experiences. "It's not just the dreams," he confessed. "Sometimes, I feel like I'm not alone in there, like there's something ancient, watching and waiting." His words sent a chill down my spine. I had felt the same presence, a silent observer that seemed to dwell within the pyramid's depths. But I had dismissed it as a product of my imagination, a trick of the mind in such an ancient, enigmatic place. "Do you think it could be related to the guardian mentioned in the hieroglyphs?" I asked, voicing a thought that had been nagging at me. "It's possible," Sarah replied, her expression thoughtful. "The Egyptians believed in powerful deities and spirits. Maybe this place is more than just a tomb." As we discussed the possibilities, a sense of foreboding settled over us. The pyramid, with its secrets and shadows, seemed to hold a power beyond our understanding. It was both fascinating and frightening, a reminder of how little we truly knew about the ancient world. That evening, back at camp, we gathered to review the day's findings. The artifacts and scrolls were being analyzed, but the results were still pending. In the meantime, we were left with more questions than answers, and the sense of unease hung over us like a dark cloud. As I lay in my tent, John's words echoed in my mind. The visions, the whispers, the feeling of being watched, they all pointed to something beyond the ordinary. I couldn't help but wonder what we had uncovered, and what it might mean for our understanding of the past. The night passed slowly, filled with restless dreams and shadowy figures. As dawn broke, I awoke with a renewed determination to uncover the truth. We were on the brink of a revelation, one that could change everything we thought we knew about the pyramids and the civilization that built them. The penultimate week of our expedition began with an air of anticipation and unease. The discoveries we had made so far were groundbreaking, but the growing sense of a lurking presence within the pyramid cast a shadow over our excitement. The hieroglyphs' warning about a guardian and John's unsettling experiences had left us all on edge. We resumed our work with cautious determination, aware that time was running out. Our primary focus was now on the chamber with the sarcophagus and the hidden passageways we had yet to explore. The artifacts we had found suggested a story far more complex than we had imagined, and we were eager to uncover the full narrative. As we navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the pyramid, the air grew thicker, almost oppressive. The sense of being watched was stronger than ever, an invisible gaze that seemed to follow our every move. It was as if the pyramid itself was alive, aware of our presence, and intent on guarding its secrets. "Let's split into two groups," Dr. Thompson suggested, breaking the silence. "We'll cover more ground that way. Sarah and David, you take the Eastern Passage. John and I will continue exploring the main chamber." I nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. The pyramid's depths held untold mysteries, and I was eager to uncover them, despite the growing sense of unease. As we ventured deeper into the pyramid, the sounds of our footsteps echoed eerily off the stone walls. The passageways were narrow and winding, their walls adorned with intricate carvings and hieroglyphs. Each turn seemed to lead us further into the heart of the ancient structure, away from the light and into the shadows. "Do you hear that?" John asked suddenly, stopping in his tracks. I strained to listen, but all I could hear was the faint hum of the electronic equipment and the distant drip of water. "It's nothing," I said, trying to sound reassuring. "Just the pyramid settling." John nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. The sense of being watched had grown stronger, a palpable presence that seemed to press in on us from all sides. We reached the main chamber, where the sarcophagus stood as a silent sentinel. The air was thick with dust and the scent of ancient stone. As we began to examine the walls for any hidden passages, a sudden, inexplicable chill swept through the chamber. "Did you feel that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. John nodded, his eyes wide with apprehension. "It's like the temperature just dropped." Before we could react, the lights flickered and went out, plunging us into darkness. The only sound was the rapid beating of my heart and the soft rustle of clothing as we fumbled for our flashlights. "Everyone okay?" Dr. Thompson's voice called out, steady despite the situation. "Yeah, we're fine," I replied, my voice shaking slightly. "Just a power outage, I guess." As we switched on our flashlights, the beams of light cut through the darkness, revealing the chamber in stark relief. The hieroglyphs on the walls seemed to shimmer and shift, as if alive with some ancient energy. "We need to get the power back on," David said, his voice tense. "I'll check the equipment." As he worked to restore the lights, the rest of us continued our examination of the chamber. The carvings on the walls told a story of gods and kings, of life and death, and of a guardian tasked with protecting the secrets of the pyramid. "Look at this," Sarah said, pointing to a series of symbols. "It seems to depict a ritual, one that involves awakening some kind of protector." The words sent a chill down my spine. The idea of a guardian, a supernatural entity tasked with protecting the pyramid, seemed far-fetched, yet the evidence was there, etched into the stone walls. As David worked on the equipment, a low, rumbling sound echoed through the chamber. It was as if the very stones were groaning in protest, a deep, resonant noise that seemed to come from the depths of the pyramid. "What was that?" John asked, his voice tinged with fear. Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath us began to tremble. The rumbling grew louder, the vibrations shaking the very foundations of the pyramid. It was as if something ancient and powerful had been awakened, a force that had lain dormant for millennia. "Everyone get back!" Dr. Thompson shouted, his voice barely audible over the noise. We scrambled to the edges of the chamber, our flashlights casting frantic beams of light across the walls. The rumbling grew louder, the vibrations more intense. It felt as if the pyramid itself was coming alive, a sleeping giant roused from its slumber. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the trembling stopped. The silence that followed was deafening, a heavy, oppressive stillness that seemed to press in on us from all sides. "Is everyone okay?" Dr. Thompson asked, his voice steady but strained. "Yeah," I replied, my voice shaking. "But what the hell was that?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But we need to be careful. Whatever we did, it seems to have triggered something." As we regrouped and assessed the situation, It became clear that we were dealing with forces beyond our understanding. The pyramid, with its ancient secrets and hidden passages, was more than just a tomb. It was a repository of ancient power, a place where the past and present intersected in ways we could barely comprehend. As we made our way back to camp, the sense of unease lingered. The Guardian, whatever it was, had been awakened, and we were left to wonder what it meant for our expedition and for the world. The decision to end the expedition early was not made lightly. The events of the previous day had left us all shaken, and the sense of danger was palpable. The pyramid, with its ancient secrets and hidden guardians, had proven to be more than we had bargained for. As we gathered in the camp that morning, the mood was somber and tense. Dr. Thompson addressed the team, his expression grave. Given the recent events, I believe it's in our best interest to wrap up the expedition. We've made significant discoveries, but the risks are becoming too great. There were nods of agreement around the table. The sense of unease that had been growing over the past weeks had reached a tipping point. We had uncovered incredible artifacts and inscriptions, but the price of continuing seemed too high. We'll spend today documenting everything we've found, Dr. Thompson continued. Let's make sure we have detailed records and photographs of all the artifacts and hieroglyphs. We need to preserve as much information as possible. The team set to work with a renewed sense of urgency. The artifacts were carefully cataloged and photographed, and the hieroglyphs were meticulously recorded. There was a sense of finality to our actions, as if we were saying goodbye to a place that had both fascinated and haunted us. As we packed up our equipment, the atmosphere grew heavier. The pyramid loomed in the distance, a silent sentinel guarding its secrets. It felt as if it was watching us, aware of our presence and our departure. "I can't believe we're leaving," Sarah said, her voice tinged with regret. "There's still so much we don't know." "I know," I replied, feeling a similar sense of loss. "But it's the right decision. We can't ignore the risks." John, who had been particularly affected by the recent events, seemed relieved. "I just want to get out of here," he admitted. "This place, it's like it's alive." As the day wore on, we completed our documentation and began to dismantle the camp. The process was slow and methodical, each step a reminder of the incredible journey we had undertaken. The artifacts were carefully packed, and the data was backed up and secured. By late afternoon, we were ready to leave. The vehicles were loaded, and the camp was cleared. As we took one last look at the pyramid, a mix of emotions washed over me. We had uncovered history, but we had also touched something ancient and powerful, something that defied our understanding. The drive back to Cairo was quiet, each of us lost in our thoughts. The city, with its bustling streets and modern conveniences, felt like another world compared to the timeless silence of the pyramid. As we arrived at our hotel, there was a sense of relief, but also a lingering sense of unease. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. The artifacts were sent to various institutions for analysis, and the data was shared with experts around the world. The initial reactions were a mix of excitement and skepticism. Our discoveries challenged many of the established narratives about ancient Egypt, and the implications were profound. Back in the United States, we were met with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. The media coverage was intense, and the scientific community was abuzz with speculation. The artifacts and inscriptions were the subject of numerous studies and debates, each new finding adding to the growing body of knowledge. Despite the excitement, there was a sense of unfinished business. The pyramid, with its hidden passages and enigmatic guardian, remained a mystery. We had only scratched the surface, and the questions we had uncovered were far more numerous than the answers we had found. For me, the experience was transformative. The expedition had been a journey into the heart of history, a voyage that had changed my perspective on the ancient world. The sense of awe and wonder that had driven me since childhood was now tempered by a deeper understanding of the complexities and mysteries of the past. As I settled back into my routine, the memories of the expedition lingered. The dreams that had haunted John began to visit me as well. Shadowy figures and whispered voices that seemed to call from the depths of the pyramid. It was as if a part of me had remained behind, forever tied to the ancient stones and the secrets they held. The discoveries we had made were shared with the world, but the true impact of our expedition was felt on a personal level. Each of us had been changed by the experience, our understanding of history, and our place in it forever altered. The pyramid, with its silent guardians and hidden chambers, had left an indelible mark on our lives. As I look back on the journey, I realized that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, their secrets hidden in the shadows of time. The pyramid had given us a glimpse into the past, but it had also reminded us of the limits of our knowledge and the enduring power of the unknown.